Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMotorParts.com. We just took a look at the brand new AEM AFR gauge for the truck. It's going to let us dial in the tune and of course be a valuable tool moving forward. And then after that we took a look at the Autometer steering column pod that doesn't fit 2/16 gauge and probably won't fit well on the steering column. But the bottom line, those were some new parts. And I think it's important to kind of maintain a mix of balance, you know, kind of stretch your budget where you should, stick with what you've got where you can, and ultimately proceed forward as best you can, having the most fun on the smallest amount of money. It's kind of what it's about in my opinion. So this is the Kegger. This is the factory Kegger off the truck. This is from the 5.2 Magnum. So sitting just to the left of my awesome work surface, as it turns out. I'm really glad I kept this pallet because it's something I don't have to like worry about beating the snot out of or staining or anything. It's really nice. And throw some cardboard down under that and it's even better. So bottom line though, I have been slowly cleaning this thing up because I'm trying to clean up my floor space. Obviously when we put the 408 in, we'll get the starter and some brackets and lines and stuff out of the way. And another one of the items was just this Kegger. So not going to do anything too crazy with it. Again, this one, the plenum gasket isn't even busted yet. And ultimately, though, it would be really nice to not have this in the floor, have it cleaned up, and put it back on the 5.2. Or at least I think so. And subsequently, you know, to get it cleaned up really good, we're going to have to take off the fuel rails, pull the injectors. We'll have to get the bolts over to a wire wheel, and we'll come in. I'm not going to do those by hand, by the way. I know I say I do a lot of things by hand. And while we totally could do that, if you've got a bench grinder and one side is a wire wheel, which I hope it is, that's perfect for this stuff. Does it so much faster than you ever could by hand. That's the route I'm going to go there. We'll clean all those up, basically have this thing looking fancy, to top off the engine sitting on a stand, which is again right over there. That's our 5.2 kind of off in the corner. You can kind of see it, the one with the lift gate on top of it, right? So that's where we're at here now. What I did and why we're here talking about this intake is there were some things that I had to do. Didn't really have to do, but wanted to do. My thoughts are, if I'm putting this back on that engine, and technically we could swap freeze plugs and a water pump and have a running engine, should we need a backup for the 408? Should we find like a $500 second gen Ram or something? That it's worth keeping around. That's a great low mileage engine that had no issues aside from freeze plugs and the water pump. So knowing that, I want to keep certain parts of it intact. Manifold obviously fully functional as is and doesn't hurt to clean it up. While it's apart, of course, it makes sense to clean this up and replace the thermostat, you know, the water neck and everything. Clearly it was leaking just a little bit, nothing major. I mean, that's over 20 years, you know. Get that cleaned up, possibly a new one if we want to. Again, $9 does that, and the heater hose on the other side. But coupled with that, right up here, we would have throttle body, which I've got it over on the other side. And the reason I bring that up, we've got something for the throttle body I haven't revealed yet. It's been sitting around for forever. But what I have on the back side here is a throttle body from a 5.9 Magnum. And the reason for that is not that I'm going to come in and hog this thing out and get a new throttle plate and anodize it, you know, with the American flag or something crazy. There's 6 things that I like about this throttle body. Now, the important thing, and as the title should have told you, these 2 items, which you haven't seen the second one yet, are my first ever purchases on eBay. Ever. All the years I've been on the planet, all the friends I have that say they're flipping parts, all the people I know that buy junk off of eBay or make like a second or third business off of just selling crud they have that they don't use. I've never bought anything prior to this, and the reason for it, one of the yards that had a bunch of trucks, not just Dodges, but just like, you know, 80s and 90s trucks is what it had, sold out a couple years back, and they just crushed everything. This is around like cash for clunkers time, so people just, you know, made money off that and scrapped the rest, and really sad, but took a lot of good usable parts away. And then another big one that I frequented quite a bit, it got sold out. I assume they just scrapped everything. This is like more recent, within the last 3 or 4 years. And there's just not many places I know of locally where I can go and like ravage, you know, second gen Rams. So in order to do that, I've got to drive somewhere, I got to lug tools, You got to worry about if people are sick or not, all that kind of crud, and I don't want to mess with it. So I just did this. And the reason I did it is I need 6 things, and those 6 things are all sensor screws, right? So we come in, we've got sensor screws, 1 and 2, okay? Right there under the front. Over here, we've got 2 sensor screws, and over here we have 2 sensor screws. So you got your idle air control, your throttle position sensor, and your map sensor. Each one is held in place with 2 sensor screws. They're different lengths. I pulled them, I documented them. No one that I buy from at work stocks anything similarly. Case be told, I could probably just run a standard. I could even get like a stainless screw and just be good. For whatever reason, I decided I wanted to run Torx. I don't know. So I tried online, and at McMaster Car I could find like 2 of them. Sometimes online I could find a sensor that included them. I think it was usually the TPS, which why the throttle position sensor comes with new screws and your map sensor that costs far more doesn't is a mystery. This is also the one people are most likely to break because they're recessed and tend to be like the gunkiest if you ever bother to look at pictures or old trucks. And then the IAC, it's all different lengths. I probably could have just used standard screws, but I didn't want to. And my other hope is that then for what I paid for this, I'm going to harvest the sensor screws. I'm going to actually keep the sensors too, just in case. I've got a bracket if I want to take that off or hawk it to somebody to recoup money. And then the main thing, I can use that as like a core. So there's a lot of people that modify these things, and of course in order to modify and sell you a ported throttle body, they have to have one of these. So that's sort of my logic. This should more than pay for itself. And I tried like 3 different people, a couple of them that actually modify these, and I said, hey, I hit them up and I said, hey, do you have sensor screws? And they say, oh, I got tons of them. Every single time it was, oh, I got millions of them. And so my response was like, great, would you sell any? And then each and every single time, I don't know if it's like the type of person or if they're just busy or they're like, I'm not going to do that. I don't know what their logic is. But to tell me you've got them and then to not want to sell them and just completely ignore me makes no sense to me. If it was a deal where it's like, well, yeah, I'll sell them to you for $5, which is a ripoff, I would have paid the $5 and I would have paid, $9.99 to ship them or whatever. It's a money-making deal, but they just drop off the face of the earth. So finally, I got sick of doing that. I said, screw it. I need this so I can proceed with my life. And I think I paid like $37 for this, which is one of the better prices I found on the throttle bodies because I've been watching for a while, and pretty happy there. Now it came in terrible condition. That's something else. If I was selling used parts on eBay, I would clean them. I'm not saying I would make them immaculate, but I would at least have them presentable. Why? Not because I would want to spend my time doing that, but because I think I would sell it for more money. It's kind of like if you've got a new car and somebody's driving around looking, for a 2021 Hellcat, and your lot, you don't believe in washing them, and they just sit outside, and your price is $65,999, and they go to the next lot over, and the guy details them, and he says, hey, you know what? Don't worry, if you buy this, we're going to ceramic coat it for free, we're going to wash and wax it, whatever, and it's the same price. They're going to buy the clean one, right? So it sort of blows my mind. This is, in order for me to pick this up and not get filthy, I had to clean it quite a bit. A lot of power foam. I was testing like some AMSOIL cleaners on it, just for my own records. But that's really what I wanted was 6 sensor screws. I guess I'll pull the bracket, and then I'm going to hopefully send this off as a core. So that was cool. The other thing, and what I'm actually more excited about, because again, that was just literally to get sensor screws, is right here. This is the front accessory bracket. Now, you can buy these new. These are still available, new old stock, right around $100 or so, which is actually kind of worth it, in my opinion. But when I can get something else, like shipped to the door for $50, and I'm willing to clean it up, that's the route I'm going to go. Now, typically, I would have done the new one, but with the 408, I'm going to try something, right? So down here in the floor, actually, if you look at this thing here, that is the factory off of the 5.2 accessory bracket. I've cleaned it up quite a bit. It's obviously in way better shape than this one. And this has been cleaned as well. I've hit it with power foam a few times, and then a couple nights ago, I didn't have the camera out here, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start cleaning this crud. Case in point, you can kind of see where it's shiny here on the intake. This is dirty still because the water neck, obviously. So that's ultimately what that'll sort of look like. I've debated airbrushing that like a keg, a literal keg, like half a side one. Don't know if I'll do it or not, but if, you know, if time allows, I will. And obviously that side I've worked on a little bit. This side is untouched. So, I mean, we did make some progress there, right? I'm fine with cleaning. I do it all the time. This thing was super grungy. I'm assuming it came from somewhere up north because it's got that like aluminum scale. You know, when aluminum like gets wet over time, it starts to like build calcium looking crud on it or something weird. And I thought that most of it would come off with like the power foam. It didn't. Again, I tried multiple cleaners. There was no easy way out, so I just started cleaning it myself, which you can see here. And that's kind of what I'm going for. Now, am I going to polish the snot out of this? No. Do I want it to look like that? Yes. Why do I want it to look like that? I plan to paint this. I'm going to hit it with some of my custom black. I typically use like, you know, on the bottom of the duster and stuff like that. And by doing so, I'm going to give myself two options for the 408. I'm going to have this thing totally blacked out. I honestly think, now I'm a guy that likes bare metal, I like aluminum, I like stainless cast iron sometimes, you know, but aluminum and stainless, ooh, you know, those are nice looking metals. Obviously this has seen better days, we can bring it back, but I've got that one. Ultimately, if I decide that I like the look of the factory as cast aluminum, that's going to go on the front of the 408 with new pulleys and stuff. If I paint this and it looks really killer, I'm going to put this on the front of the 408. That will then be saved for the 5.2 right back there. And essentially that completes that engine, right? All we took off to remove it from the truck was the Kegger, the throttle body, and the front accessory bracket to get to the point of removing these. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And, it's a little overkill, but you got to think, if I just threw that and pulled all the sensor screws from my throttle body and shipped my throttle body off for the core, or just had it sitting desolate without the sensors and screws, I now have essentially, you know, a 5.2 that needs the top end, all the fuel components, you know, manifold, injectors, fuel rails, everything like that. By putting all of this back together, and I'll probably go ahead and replace the plenum pan gasket too, I have a running engine, which again is backup for this. If we go out and we grenade the 408, if we have a catastrophic failure, if the block freezes, whatever it might be, I've got a backup engine, and I just again have to replace freeze plugs on and water pump, and that's easy because it's out of the truck. All right, so my plan is hopefully going to be pull these sensor screws, use them on my new throttle body, which you'll see in time, paint this black after it's cleaned up really good so the paint will stick and it'll look right. Hopefully use that slick setup for the 408, take the factory accessory bracket, which we've cleaned up on, take the factory Kegger, which we will have cleaned up, throw that back on the 5.2, have it ready to go, again just needing to replace freeze plugs and the water pump should we need it. Or I mean, like I said, maybe we'll go out and we'll find a cheap Ram. Maybe somebody comes up to me and says, hey, you know what a Ram SST is? You know, I've got one sitting around in the backyard I don't want, haul it off and it's yours, you know, clean title. If something like that happens, I've got a 5.2 that I know the entire history of, that I can throw in the truck and have an awesome little, like, you know, daily driver, beater, work, whatever I want to do. You know, moving project truck kind of a thing. So that is a win-win in my opinion. But these are my first ever eBay items. I was surprised with one thing, and that's how fast they shipped. I had these two things in like 3 to 4 days. I also ordered a Mopar lamp, a little LED one, which has turned out to be great. And I got it, I think, that weekend. So I wanted to say 2 days there, and I believe these came Monday. So basically like 3 to 4 days. And I think it was like Indiana and Pennsylvania, Ohio, somewhere in there. So first experience, didn't get scammed, got what I wanted, and can't complain. So the main thing, the only real point of contention is on the throttle body. If I can get the sensor screws out without them breaking. If they break, I think I'm just going to say screw it, and I'm going to go get standard screws. But I literally documented them, put them in the bolt gauge, measured the thread pitch, and just no one I buy from locally stocks any, I guess you would call it like a specialty fastener type of a deal. Now if I wanted deck screws, I'm sure I could get them, but that torque stuff, no. McMaster car, it was 2 out of 3. The sensors, I've looked everywhere, every source, new and old, cheap and expensive, and you cannot find map sensors that come with it. It's stupid. I mean, it's not like I'm working on the Duster, you know, from the 70s. This is a 2001 Dodge. It shouldn't be this difficult, you know, find simple parts and stuff. But that is the plan, though. We're going to clean this sucker up, paint it. We're going to pull the sensor screws. We're going to clean up the Kegger, which is kind of unrelated, but we're going to hopefully throw it back with the factory one, assuming this looks killer. And then you'll see it on the front of the 408 there. And throttle body, if you're curious what we got, it is coming, so stay tuned. But I got a little bit more free time out here, so I may go ahead and pull my fuel rails and that water neck, hit that with a wire wheel, and call it good. So at some point in time, I'll either put it on the end of this video, depends kind of what kind of free time I get, or you'll just see it when I say, hey, check out my painted bracket for the 408. You'll know to be looking for it. But again, this thing and the throttle body were both just straight up nasty. And I guess that's what you get in the Rust Belt, just everything gets looking like crud. But the problem here, you know, is like to really clean it up good, you know, you gotta like get in all these intricate surfaces and everything. So this will be like a Dremel job and hand sanding and everything like that. If it was all flats, you know, kind of like what we have there, you know, that's nothing. You can have that done in, you know, 5-10 minutes and have it showroom fresh, polished even. But I'll be working on this as I get time or burned out on something, or just, you know, one of those nights when I have like 20-30 minutes of free time, come out here, I'll spend some time on this and go to town. Bottom line though, I just wanted to make the video before I had like completely clean this thing up. And you know, like I said, so you buy some new, you buy some used, you trade, you swap, you do what you got to do to make things work. But in my opinion, blacking this out for the 408 and then having the factory 5.2 parts go back to the 5.2, I think is the best way to do it. So that's the way I'm rolling. But that is it. These are my first ever eBay purchases. So tell you what, before we go, I'll plug in the Mopar lamp and let you look at that. Alright, so as promised, there it is again. This was just something I was on eBay bringing those parts in. This was 25 bucks or something, and I gotta say, I love it. It's real simple. If you buy any sorts of these LED lamps, regardless if it's sports, automotive, movies, entertainment, whatever, they're all the same design. It just comes up and lights up through the acrylic. They all seem to have this same plain Jane remote, which you can sort of see right there. You can select your color, you can have it cycle through fast, you can have it flush, whatever you want to do. But the bottom line is it actually works, it looks cool, and I enjoy having it, you know, sitting here on the top of the toolbox. So technically, if we had to be 100% accurate, this would be my first ever eBay purchase because it arrived first. It's, between this, the throttle body, and of course the front accessory bracket, my legitimately first ever eBay purchases, and didn't get burned on any of them, so who knows, maybe we'll pick up some more stuff as the need arises. Maybe it'll be some old school tools we can kind of refurb. Maybe it'll be some stuff out of production, or who knows, maybe it'll just be junk for old cars that not many people will care about. But, bottom line, it was my first experience. It wasn't bad, I gotta say. So again, can't really link this stuff. I mean, if you want it, just go search for it. This I actually probably could link. I'll try to remember to do that. Again, nice looking lamp. Again, if you're Ford, Chevy, Toyota, whatever, Ram head, you could probably contact the seller, have them make whatever you want to. So for kids' birthdays, uncles, whatever, you know, it's just one of those things. This is an inexpensive deal, and it would honestly be a great gift in my opinion. So with that said, I'm going to get back to work, probably tear that manifold down, continue cleaning up on it. But, hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. If you have painted one of those front accessory brackets, how did it turn out? What did you wind up using? Similarly, if you come in with the throttle bodies, did you have any issues? You keep in mind, a lot of people maybe get in the truck for the first time. If they're putting an engine in themselves, they're not even going to have the factory throttle body to go with. Did you run regular screws? Did you just go to the junkyard and pull something? Let me know what you did, or did your sensors all come with screws? Because they apparently don't anymore. So, that said, let me know what you think of this. I'm going to get back to work, and I hope I'll catch you for more for the Ram Revival.